Of the Department of International Relations and Cooperations today met the President of Mozambique to discuss further ways in which the country can continue to provide support and assistance in the wake of Cyclone Idai. It has been a week since Idai wreaked havoc, with Mozambique being hit the hardest. The SANDF has been on a rescue and recovery mission in Beira. The force deployed more members today. South Africa has called on its citizens to assist the three countries affected by the cyclone. And for more on this story, we're joined on the line from Maputo by the editor of the Mozambique News Agency, Paul Fauvet. A very good evening to you, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. Do we know the death toll so far?
Well, the death toll is gradually being revised upwards as more bodies are discovered. The last death toll that the government published was 293. Those are only confirmed deaths. This tragedy has hit a vast swathe of central Mozambique, many parts of which are very difficult to reach, are very remote. And now that the roads are down and the communications are down, it becomes difficult to find out exactly what's going on in parts of this huge area. So while one can get a death toll from places like Beira and Dondo and Chimoio, places, cities, from the rural areas it's more difficult.
And how are the search and rescue efforts progressing, and who is manning those rescue efforts? We do understand that the South African National Defence Force team has also been deployed to Mozambique.
Yes, there are South African military personnel there, South African helicopters that are being used to locate people who are trapped or isolated by the floodwaters and to rescue them. And the South African Foreign Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, arrived today, and tomorrow she's going up to Beira, where she will meet with the South African relief personnel. But there are other people on the ground. Assistance is coming from all across the world, from countries as varied as India and Portugal, and today Angola sent medical personnel to help.
And the distribution of humanitarian supplies like food and medicine, just how easy or how difficult it is, given the fact that some of the areas are literally inaccessible?
It's extremely difficult. And because people are desperate and very hungry, there have been incidents of near rioting in Beira, where crowds have tried to loot warehouses. This is a very difficult situation to bring under control. The main road to Beira, this is the Beira corridor, it goes to Beira to Zimbabwe, is cut in 4 separate places, and our teams are working to repair the road as quickly as they can, but it will be some time before road transport is fully back in operation. Meanwhile, the ways to reach Beira are by air and by sea. There's been a huge solidarity effort in Maputo, in which people have collected non-perishable food items, clothing, other relief goods, and are sending them by boat. The boat leaves early tomorrow morning, about 30 containers of relief goods to help people in Beira.
And we also know that telecommunications was brought down in Beira. What's the situation now?
Bit by bit, the telecommunications are being restored. The largest of the companies, TMCell, claims that its network is back in operation throughout the country. But the same is not true of the 2 other networks, Vodacom and Movitel. There has been some improvement in terms of restoring electricity and water to Beira. Emergency generators were taken to Beira, so there is some power in Beira now. And the water authorities say they hope to have water supply back in the taps tomorrow.
I mean, I'm going through some of the most gory footage by some of the news agencies, and I'm seeing some elderly people and children being airlifted from trees. So what are some of the sad stories coming out of the affected areas?
Well, this is true. When the cyclone hit Zimbabwe, it dropped a massive amount of rain on Zimbabwe, and that water came back into Mozambique down the main river channels. And so the main rivers in Sofala province, the Pungwe and the Buzi, flooded very rapidly, and people fled for their lives and ended up clinging for their lives to trees or on rooftops, and from which rescue workers have been trying to save them.
Okay, what's the weather like as we speak? Have the flood waters subsided?
The flood waters are subsiding. But there are more problems on the way. The water authorities warn that the Korabasa Dam on the Zambezi must increase its discharges, must release 3,000 cubic meters of water a second to protect the integrity of the dam. That is likely to cause flooding on the lower Zambezi. Not the areas that are currently flooded, but other areas nearer the Indian Ocean, near the mouth of the Zambezi.
All right, Paul, thank you so much for your update. That was the editor of the Mozambique News Agency, Paul Fauvet. We'll have more shortly after this break.